Good morning, good afternoon and good evening from wherever you may be in the world. And welcome to the first practice session here at the Nürburgring for the NXT Gen Cup. I'm joined as always by Fredrik Lestrup. Fredrik, how are you feeling?
I'm very good, Dan. Thanks for joining us, everyone listening at home or wherever you are in the world, like you always say, Dan. We're in Germany. We're at Nürburgring together with DTM. This is a big moment for us. I also just want to greet everyone listening here on site, because we're actually live on the speakers on the track. So, hallo alle Leute hier auf der Strecke. Wir sind NXT Gen Cup, eine schwedische Rennserie. Unser erstes Mal bei der DTM. Wir haben voll elektrische Rennautos gebaut mit einem Mini als Basis. Jetzt sollen wir uns zeigen, wie es richtig Spaß geht mit elektrischen Minis.
Yeah, practice, 20 minutes is the session. We can just quickly walk through the weekend structure for NXT Gen Cup. So we have practice now, 20 minutes. Then later on today we have 20 minutes of qualifying. Then tomorrow, 2 8-lap races instead of the 15 minutes that we usually do. That's what the drivers got to hear during the drivers' briefing. We do, for the first time, I think, extend if we do have a safety car period.
Yes, we do. So we have the option to extend the driving time a little bit, because if we do a safety car period, we have enough energy, because we're driving slow, to continue driving more. So yes, we have the option now to extend the driving time to use the whole capacity of the battery, basically.
Yeah, well, we've been at Falkenberg in Sweden before. We have been at Oschersleben in Germany before as well. And today, we're here for the third round of the season, 6 in total. Also, greeting everyone who is watching from the YouTube stream now. Welcome in. The cars are currently going out on track, leaving pit lane. We have 2 new drivers as well here with us this weekend, Bente Boers and Mats Overhoff.
Exactly. So this is a big moment. The cars are entering the track for the first time. So yeah, as you say, we have 2 new drivers for the weekend. We have a German driver, so he's clearly the home favorite for this weekend, Mats Overhoff. He's coming directly from karting. He's never driven a car in his whole life, so he's debuting in many ways, not just driving a car, but also on a proper racetrack with the DTM, going electric in a race car. So it's a big moment for him. And Bente Boers, she's obviously from your country, from the Netherlands. Yes. Tell us about her.
Well, Bente has driven multiple things before. It's the first time for her in an electric front-wheel driven car. So a learning curve that will be very steep as well. The same for Mats Overhoff. Yeah, fully electric, which is important as well, making the future of racing sustainable.
Yeah, for everyone watching. So these are fully electric LRT NXT1, that's what we call the car. They are built based on a Mini Cooper SE, so the electric road car. They are front-wheel driven, just like the road car are. We have a 30 kilowatt-hour battery. It's a battery built by a Spanish company, QEV, for us. It's fully FIA compliant, which is important for us. And the cars are weighing 1,150 kilos. It's not a lot for an electric car. A lot of people think that our cars are heavy, but they are actually not. We have a very good weight distribution, especially a very low center of gravity. So the Mini is a really good race car as a base, but with the lower center of gravity, the instant torque with the electric motor, they are extremely fun to drive. I actually got the chance yesterday, Dan, to do a 16-minute stint on the track in one of the cars to check the mapping that we are using. Here you can see Alexander Christiansson using a little bit more than he should have used in the last chicane before the last corner. So obviously they are doing their first laps on the track, trying to figure out the braking points, where you turn in, the apex points, how much curbs you can use or should not use, like in this case for Alexander. So yeah, we're just happy to be here, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, that's what practice is for, trying to find the limit. It's better to do it now. If you do hit one of those bollards in turn 9 and 10, it will give you a time penalty. You can go over the white lines, but if you do hit one of those bollards, the race director will come up to you, say you've been naughty, and you're going to get a time penalty.
Exactly, so they do not want that for qualifying, so it's best to test the limit right now. So looking at the championship, here you can see on screen Ellis Spezia from America. He's in the Hankook branded car this weekend. He's leading the field. He was first out, I think, out of pit lane.
Yeah.
He's leading the championship as well.
Yeah, he's done a great job so far. If we look at the results for Ellis so far this season, it is 4th in the first race at Valkenberg, 1st in the second race at Valkenberg, did the exact same in Oschersleben, but only finished 2nd in the first race and won again in the second race. Was close to Grand Slam there. Was 1st in qualifying, 2nd in the first race, and of course won that second race.
He's done a really good job. He's also the only driver in the field that has been at Nürburgring on the track driving before, so he has a big benefit of that. He's coming into this weekend with a very high confidence level, obviously. He's leading the championship. He's got 106 points, and the second place is 74. Basically, he has a get-out-of-jail-free card to have a DNF and still be in the lead in the championship. It's a good position for him to be in.
He's followed by the man at the moment on top in this practice session when the first lap times trickle in. Linus Gronfors has just pipped in, but Elias Adestam doing a great job in 2nd in the championship, and the man at the moment in 1st in the practice session, Linus Gronfors, on 58 points in P3 in the championship. Behind that, though, everything, Fredrik, wide open.
It's wide open. I think we have 8 or 9 cars separated by just a few points, so we're not even halfway in the championship, Dan, so there's a lot to fight for. And Linus Gronfors, obviously at Oschersleben, he had a DNF, or he had a fault in race 1, so he started race 2 last at Oschersleben, and he managed to climb his way all the way up to 6th position without a scratch on the car.
Yeah.
That's well done.
Here we see Bente Boer, one of the new drivers here this weekend, finding her groove with this fully electric LRT NXT, and that's what you have to do, finding the limit a bit too much, and that is a spin for her going into turn 10. But that's, like I said, Fredrik, in the beginning, that's what practice is for. That's what this 20-minute session is so important for, especially for drivers that have never had any experience with these cars. If you look at the top 3, if you look at most of those drivers, they've already had 2 races, had testing at Yellow-Rossen. They haven't, so they've got to find the limit now.
Yeah, they have to find the limit. That's what practice is for. So clearly she was pushing a little bit too hard, getting used to the car, getting used to the corners. So in the Förenade Bil car, the green, beautiful car, we have Linus Gronfors, 3rd in the championship. He's on an attack. He's fastest at the moment, so he's done a 51.599. We were expecting low 51s.
Yeah.
I think that someone might be able to go under 51. That's my prediction.
Didn't improve in the second sector. Who did improve was Alexander Christiansen. He goes 1st on a 151.146, followed by Linus Gronfors, who pulled into the pit lane. We see different strategies really here in this practice session. Some drivers stay out on track, try to get in as many laps as they can. Some drivers come in, have a chat to one of their engineers. We have 5 engineering groups, so 5 engineers who have about 4 or 5 drivers under them. They talk to their engineer, they go back out, and they do what the engineer could see from a pit wall perspective they could improve on their lap.
Exactly. So every driver has an engineer that will help them. All cars, so basically the base of NXT Gen Cup is to provide an equal playing field. So all cars are identical. They actually have the same setup. We want it to be up to the driver to perform, and not the car and not the setup. So the drivers have some possibilities though. They can change the damper clicks on the car. Yep. With a few clicks. They can also change within a few parameters the rear tire pressure. So these are the 2 things they can change on the setup during a session. So we saw Linus Gronfors entering the pit lane, and we have Victor Nielsen now fastest at 51.093. So as I predicted, we think we will see 1.50 lap times. They can also change the brake balance while driving, which is important. You need to if it starts to rain. These cars have a regen, so they are, when we are braking, we are using the regeneration to charge the battery, basically. But this also means that the regen is actually doing a lot of the braking. So we have very small brakes on these cars, and you need to adapt your brake balance according to that.
Ellis Piettia has just gone up into P1. Alexander Christiansen improving as well. He got his first podium at Oschersleben. Had a bit of difficulties getting used to the car, but he seemed to have found his groove, Alexander Christiansen. He now jumps up into P1, 150.564. So we're already below the expected lap time of 151.
Yeah, we have 4 cars already under 151. So Christiansen clearly that podium gave him a lot of confidence. Yeah. You need confidence to come to a new racetrack and to find the limits and to push and to perform. Theo Jernberg is 3rd at the moment. And Christiansen, he's put in a really good lap time. He's actually 1.5 tenths before Ellis Piettia.
If you look at the results from Alexander Christensen before that second race in Oschersleben, it was a 7th place in the first race at Falkenberg, 12th in the second race in Falkenberg, very much getting used to the car there. Then we went to Oschersleben, the first of the German rounds, got 7th in race 1. We already saw from qualifying to the race, he got a lot more confident with the car, and then he got that second race, did what he needed to do with that reverse grid that we also have in the second race. He started second in that race, defended like a champion, and he got P3 in the end.
Yeah, so and Mats Overhoff at the moment, he's in P18, so he's not really put a full lap together. I can't see him in the pit lane, so I think he's out somewhere, getting his first laps in.
Yeah, he still hasn't visited pit lane. I think he's just gone cross start finish. Here we can see the 3 close to each other. It's Elias Adestam, Enzo Holman, I think, in the Varta car, the car that Ellis Piet, or that I think Elias Adestam drove at Falkenberg. He won, of course, that first race in the Varta car. Victor Nielsen is purple in sector 1, so we're going even quicker. Here you can see the 3 coming past, start finish. The 11 of Ellis Pietzi has just entered the pit lane. Victor Nielsen, purple sector 1, purple sector 2. Can someone jump up into the 49s? That will be an incredible lap time. Something that we would have never expected, really. But Victor Nielsen is at the moment proving us wrong. Purple sector 1, purple sector 2. Jonathan Engstrom has just gone up into P1. But for how long is that going to last? Across the line for Victor Nielsen. Is it going to be 149? Yes, it is. 149, 636. And that is over 8 tenths ahead of our driver in P, Jonathan Engstrom. What a lap time from Victor Nielsen.
Victor Nielsen clearly found speed somewhere that the other drivers haven't found yet. So, and I also think he was a little bit hindered by our Dutch driver, Graham Hofmans, in the chicane at before the last corner. So that's really well done. 8 tenths before, and Jonathan Engstrom is second. They're lighting up the timing screen like a Christmas tree now, Dan.
Yes, he did this in practice in Oschersleben too, though. And he told me afterwards that he used to push to pass twice a lap. Now, for the people that are here and are watching, you can't use push to pass in qualifying. So we might now see a 49.636 from Victor Nielsen, but this might not be representative for qualifying. Here you can see him jumping the curbs, not using on the track that you can use, but, well, almost using the most amount that these cars can handle.
I mean, he must have used the push-to-pass to put in such a big deficit of the lap time. So for those of you who don't know what the push-to-pass is, so it's basically a function where the driver pushes a button on the steering wheel and they get 60 more horsepower for 5 seconds to be able to overtake. They can do it 2 times per race, not during qualifying. We have a little twist though, Dan. We don't want them to just push the button and get the power. So the driver first have to push the push-to-pass button, and then it takes 5 seconds before they have these extra 60 horsepower available. And they also need to use them, so push the button again within 5 seconds, otherwise they lose their push-to-pass. So we have created this to force the driver to plan when and how they use the push-to-pass.
Yeah, else you could just push it, and then the driver ahead of you pushes it as well, and that cancels out the push to pass. So that's why the 5 seconds are there. Victor Nielsen just came across start finish again, didn't improve. Someone who did improve is Linus Grunfors. He is now only 5.5 tenths behind Victor Nielsen. I say only, though. That's quite a big deficit to what we've seen for the rest of the season, really. The first 2 rounds, the first round at Falkenberg, the first race at Falkenberg, I think we had the top 10, well, within 7 or 8 seconds after 15 minutes of racing.
So we had a spin, I think it's Katie Turner who tried the gravel trap a little bit. It's a front-wheel driven car. It's easy to make a mistake. If you lift the throttle in the corner, upsetting the car, it's easy to spin. So we have to remember these drivers are very young. You can enter this category the year you turn 15. And Graham Hoffman's 15th birthday is 30th of December this year. So he's very lucky that he's
got lucky by a day.
Yeah, and you can drive until the year you turn 25. So all these drivers are competing for the junior Swedish racing joint title. So the winner will become the Swedish junior champion in racing.
Linus Grönfors just improved that last sector time, went purple. Doesn't give him anything though, not an improvement because he, well, was a bit slower than his quickest lap time in sector 1. So far, I think drivers have been finding the limits, as we see with Linus Grönfors now, a bit of a lock up into turn 1, easily done. Here we can see that spin from the 14 of Katie Turner. It looks a bit worse than it actually is. It was just backwards into the gravel trap, spun before she actually got into the gravel trap. I think a bit too much speed in, and just lost the rear end of the car. Luckily though, compared to Oschersleben, able to get out of it.
Yeah, she was lucky there. She could get out, she could continue, and obviously after this session, Katie and her engineer, Matthew Webster, will analyze the incident and make sure that she doesn't repeat the mistake.
The deficit that Katie, of course, has is the fact that she hasn't been at pre-season testing at Yellow-Rossen, which most of these drivers have had. That is a hit of the cone for Alice Spezia. So that in qualifying would be for sure a lap time deleted, so that lap time would not count. Here in practice, though, it might, but it has to depend on if he's actually going to go quicker. Isn't quicker in sector 1 and sector 2, but you can see he's clearly trying to push the limits.
Yeah, and Sidi Högfeldt, she's P9 at the moment, one of 4 girls competing in the championship. She's done a good job. She's 11th in the championship. She's improving step by step, and 9th place now here. It's a good job by her. Elias Adestam, he's in 8th position. He is 1.3 seconds off the fastest driver at the moment, so he needs to think about if he's going to use push to pass to improve the lap time, or if he's going to focus on finding a lap without using it, because that's how we have to do it at qualifying.
Yeah, it's something that they did at Oschersleben as well. I mean, Victor Nielsen was first in the free practice in Oschersleben as well. Linus Grönfors was up there with him as well. Now, he actually managed to have quite some good pace in qualifying as well. Was only, I think, 83 thousandths of a second off of Alice Spezia, who took the pole position in Oschersleben. In Falkenberg, it was even closer, though. I think we had the complete top 16 in qualifying within a second. Måns Tallin is improving in sector 1. Let's see at the moment, if we look at our timing screens, he's in 11th. Does he improve across the line? He does not. We can have a little bit of a look, though, at how we are heading into the last 5 minutes of this practice session. It is Victor Nielsen topping the timing screens on a 1:49.636. And Theo Jernberg in P2. Linus Grönfors in P3. A black and white flag for the number 11. That is what I just said. Hitting those cones will get you a penalty. Doing that too often will get you a slap on the wrist from race control. That's what we're seeing right now. Black and white flag for Alice Spezia, the number 11, out on track. Jonathan Engström is in P4 ahead of Alexander Christensen in 5th. Then in 6th, we have the driver who currently is getting that black and white flag, Alice Spezia. In 7th, it's Enzo Holman ahead of Elias Adestam in P8, then Siri Högfeldt in P9. Alex Gustafsson, who had a really good weekend, is really Mr. Consistent in this series. He's down in P10. Måns Tallin in 11th. Graham Hofmans in P12, Louise Larsen in 13th, ahead of Sebastian Kinmark in 14th. Bente Boer in 15th, she just improved, getting used to this car. Then Philip Bartos in 16th, Katie Turner in 17th, and Mats Overhoff still on a 3:41 in 18th. He's been in pit lane for 5 minutes, for 5.5 minutes basically. So yeah, seems like he had a chat with his engineer.
Something, yeah, clearly has some issue of some kind, but it's good that he's out. He will be able to put a few laps in together, but that will basically be his preparation for qualifying.
He's just come across start-finish as well to start his newer lap. Theo Jernberg has just jumped up into second. The margins are slim as ever. 19 thousandths of a second back to the driver in P3, Linus Grönfors. It is what we're expecting. Elias Adestam, you said it, is looking for a lap without the use of push to pass, and I think he got one in. 1:50.405 for Elias Adestam. That is 7.5 tenths back on Victor Nielsen, who we presume did use push to pass, did just go green in that last sector, showing that there was even more lap time in there.
Exactly. So the drivers have 2.5 minutes left of this session to find their braking markers, cornering entry, and so on, to be ready for qualifying. We are doing a qualifying this afternoon, 20-minute session, to dictate where they start for race 1 tomorrow morning. For race 2, we do a top 8 swap. So
yes,
the one winning race 1 will start race 2 in P8.
For the ones wondering when that qualifying will be, that will be at 18:00 local time, so 6 local time in the afternoon. That is when qualifying is. That is, well, right after the first race of the BMW M2 Cup. Well then, below 2 minutes left in this practice session. Drivers will be starting their final lap now. If they do come across start-finish, you can start your final lap until, basically, the clock hits 0. We're looking at the 19 of Alex Gustafsson. He, at the moment, is, well, like we said, a bit further down the order than we expected. Mr. Consistent, finishing P5 and P6 throughout the whole, throughout the whole 2 rounds.
He's done a really good job. He's coming from rallycross, so he's entering the shortcut, turn 5 at the moment, the VLN shortcut, on his way to the fast corner 6, corner 7 out on the back straight. So he's driving the Tearshine car. The drivers have the doors for their own partners, for their own sponsors. So he has a nice AD sponsorship. So Mats Overhoff is having a problem. As you can see on the dashboard of the car, we have a green light indicating that there is no electrical issue, there is no fault with the car, so there must be something else. He's not managed to put a full lap together yet.
And he was improving. If you look on the timing screens on your left-hand side, you can see 2 green sectors for Mats Overhoff. He's going to decide not to pull into pit lane, and he's going to go for another lap if he can. Now, we had the same within his Grundfos. That was a faulty sensor in the battery. Now, the car goes into a safety function while we see Siri Högfeldt, I think, down into turn 1. She has had a off moment as well. Watching out to rejoin the track, she does so safely and rejoins right behind Louise Larsen in the Screenbolaget car. But we saw the same with Linus Grundfors in Ossersleben, a faulty sensor in the battery. The car basically goes into a safety mode, saying, "Hey, this is a value that I shouldn't be reading," and it just switches the car off as a safety feature.
Yeah, I mean, safety for us with high voltage race cars is extremely important. So we have all the safety functions, and we'd rather turn the car off and make sure it's safe before we continue to drive. So there wasn't a problem with any electrical components since we still had the green light. So we're getting the checkered flag, and here you can see Siri Högfeldt locking the rear tires, spinning to the left in turn 1, is it?
Yeah, this is turn 1. Easy to do, though, because you're turning and braking at the same time with how these cars are set up. You want a bit more brake balance towards the rear of the car to get the turn-in, the initial turn-in into the corner. And some drivers we have seen struggling with that a bit. It is a bit of a change, though, going from rear-wheel to front-wheel drive, or just from karting immediately into a front-wheel drive car.
Yeah, it is. And probably she was pushing the brake balance further back and back and back. She was maybe locking the front tires. Clearly, she was too far back on the brake balance.
Maybe just too much initial pressure. So how do we end this practice session? Then everyone slowly pulling into pit lane. Victor Nielsen goes into qualifying once again, like he did in Ossersleben, with the confidence of finishing first in the practice session by over 0.5 of a second. Theo Jernberg in P2, Linus Grundfors in P3. Elias Adestam found that lap without using push to pass. We think there's no way for us to know, and he finishes P4. Jonathan Engström in P5 got a podium in race 2 in Ossersleben as well, finished second. Son of Thomas Engström, former STCC driver and STCC race winner as well. Alexander Christensen in P6, Ellis Spezia in P7, Enzo Holman in P8, and Siri Högfeldt in 9th. Rounding off the top 10 is Alex Gustafsson. Mons Tallinn in 11th, Sebastian Kinmark in P12, Graham Hoffmans in P13, Louise Larsen finishing 14th, and Bente Boer, one of our 2 new drivers, finishing in P15. Philip Bartels in 16th, 17th, Mats Overhoff, getting in a lap in the end, a 1:56.
Nice to see some Swedish fans on the grandstand. So here we have recap of no. So we finished the session, obviously. What a session it was, Dan. They are improving, they're improving. They are faster than we thought they would drive out there.
They're faster than you, Frederick.
Yeah. I mean, I never used push to pass. That's my excuse.
Here we go, once again, the result. Victor Nielsen topping the timing sheets in practice. A good practice session for him, like he did at Ossersleben. It goes into qualifying with the confidence of finishing first. Theo Jernberg, a good practice session for him as well, finishing second behind Victor Nielsen, and Linus Grundfors rounding off the top 3. Then Siri Högfeldt, once again, a good qualifying or a good practice session for him, going into qualifying with confidence. Mons Tallinn in 11th, Alex Gustafsson, Mr. Consistent, finishing no lower than 6th this season in P10 in this practice session. Then Mats Overhoff, a bit of trouble for him in this practice session, was in pit lane for a good while in this practice session, and he finishes the practice session in P17. Well then, like I said, we will have qualifying 18:00 local time. You can join us on the NXT Gen Cup YouTube channel to see that, and on the several NXT Gen Cup social medias, Instagram, Twitter, whatever we have. And of course, you can join us live here at the Nürburgring. Until then, thank you very much. Until then, bye-bye.